Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larsen, and welcome to the 5-Off 5-On Racing Show. Pleasure to have everybody on tonight. I want to thank all our viewers and listeners from last week. We had a crowd in the chat room and a bunch more just watching from the sidelines. So thank you for last week. I appreciate that, and also for sharing that video, the tribute video to W.J. Walter Johnson. It was a very touching tribute, and I'm glad that see it and enjoy it and get something out of it. But anyway, let's see, a lot of stuff's not really happening in racing at this time of year, but the Sprint Cup Series and the Nationwide, Xfinity Series and the Camp Road Truck Series had their banquets in Vegas, and that was like watching paint dry, but that's okay. You know, it's a long drawn out thing, and once you're a guy or a team is did their thing, it's hard to stay excited for it. But anyway, I made a trip out to the swap meet at Riverhead Raceway here on Long Island, the new Riverhead Raceway, and it's some people are calling it. And I'll tell you what, I had a nice talk with Eddie Partridge, the new owner, and his nephew Tom Gatson. I'll tell you what, when you show up there opening day, whenever that may be, when you show up, you're not going to recognize the place. We went around, we took some video, we'll have that probably next week or two, but we took some video, some of the changes that were made, and you know what, it's all cosmetic, and when I say it's cosmetic, when you walk in, really, you're not gonna recognize the place, and just in talking with Eddie and Tom, you're gonna see a more fan-friendly facility, you're gonna see some good racing, which we knew that was gonna happen, but the best part is, when I say fan-friendly, they're going to cater to the race fan. Not that the previous owners did not do that. They were there forever. They were there for many, many, many years. And you know what happens? You get complacent. You get complacent in what you're doing, and you don't want to do different things because you're afraid it might not work. And you get, you start not listening to people because, you want to do it your way. So, with the new ownership and new fresh ideas and the team that's in place with John Elwood, it just seems like 2016 is going to be exciting. Changes in divisions and different rules and whatnot, but these changes were needed. The changes were long overdue. I've been going to Riverhead Raceway since the early 70s. Not as a regular person back in the day, but from time to time. So you're talking over 40 years that I went to that place. And I remember as a kid going, maybe I was 12, 14 years old, I remember a clown walking around blowing up balloons and handing them out. And I remember sitting there with my little brother, and he got all excited about the balloon, and he wanted to go back just to get a balloon, And those are the things that make it good. And what do I say that? Well, if you get somebody interested in something at a very young age, they're going to grow into it. And then what happens, they tell their friends, and it just multiplies, and you build upon that. We all know that the crowds over the last couple of years weren't what they once were. I think that's going to change. It might not change overnight, but it's going to change. You're going to see better crowds, bigger crowds. I think you're going to see a younger crowd at the Riverhead Raceway. I think you're going to see more teams coming in with some of these rules and this spec engine deal that everybody's kind of concerned about. I think that's going to make it a little more affordable for some of the people who just couldn't go to the big engine builders and have these motors built for $20,000, $30,000, and in some cases $40,000. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a real good thing. And I am, for one thing, looking very much forward to it. Like I said, I walked around with Kevin Basic from Long Island Need for Speed, and we walked around the grandstand area and the improvements that just started. I mean, the season's only a couple months, since it ended. And, it's been a mild winter. They got a lot more to do. But, I understand they need to go to the town and work their magic with the town to make it all happen. But like I said, Eddie and I had a long conversation, and nothing that we can really talk about here publicly. When the time comes, I'm sure we'll be able to do that. But like I said, Tom Gatz had committed to coming on and talking to us, doing an interview with us, and talk about what's going on and what the plans are and all of that kind of good stuff moving forward. The schedule is made, but it has not been released for 2016, as in many of the weekly tracks that have NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour events on them, because NASCAR has not released the tour schedule yet. And it's just an understanding. You don't put it out until you do that. Some tracks already did. They do it their way, but they want to do everything right here on Long Island. So I'm looking forward to see what that schedule is going to look like. Just a rumor in the street that the Wheel and Modified Tour will make 2 visits to the facility in 2016, and that's always a good thing. Hopefully it's a good show, and it should be. And hopefully a lot of fans come and a lot of cars come. Because, in the past, even that has kind of gotten watered down. I can remember back in 2003, 2004, having over 60 tour-type modified show up for a touring event at the Riverhead Raceway. And I can remember sending home more cars than started the race. 28 cars started, and we sent home whatever the number was, 38, 36 cars that went home. One was a past champion. And you got beat out by him in a provisional deal. But, you look at that, I've always said this, with any racetrack, cars in the pits equal fannies in the seats. And the more cars you have in the pits, the more money the racetrack is going to take in. And let me explain that briefly. And, we use round numbers for this. You have 100 cars signed into your pit area. The average team, and some teams bring 10, some bring none, some people, but the average team brings in about, I'm going to say 8 to 10 8 to 10 crew members. So when you do that math, you have 100 cars and you have 10 people. That's 1,000 people that just signed in at $30, whatever the pit we use around number $30 in pits. So that's $30,000. Now, it probably cost weekly a good 20 and change to put on that show, between the purses and the insurance and all that good stuff. So, if not more. Now, on top of that, they still got to pay the electric bill, the taxes, the insurance, and sanctioning fees and all that. So they're really not making a ton of money, but if you have 1,000 people back there, you're doing okay. Now let's piggyback onto that for a second. The same exact costs are going to be thrown at you as a track operator, whether you have 1,000 people in the pits or 500 people in the pits. You're still going to pay out that purse. You're still going to pay the same sanction fee. You're still going to pay the same insurance. Your electric bill is still going to be the same. And your staffing and your payroll and all of that kind of good stuff. So the more people that you have in your pit area is better for your business as a racetrack owner or operator. And, a lot of people think that racetrack operators are rolling in the dough. They're not. You get one rain out, they're sunk. You're only operating 20 to 25 times a year. Think about your business. Think about, 25 times a year, 52 weeks a year. So let's say you get paid every 2 weeks and your boss says to you, hey, you know what, we're not paying you next week, it rained. Whoa. So you just lost, that actually equates to like a month's worth of pay. So, it's all going to be good. And Bob Finan, the announcer, the longtime announcer there at Riverhead Raceway, has committed to come on as a guest on our show in the next 2 to 3 weeks and talk about some of the exciting things that are going to be happening at the facility. And, it's almost like a new racetrack was built. It's almost like that. It's almost like a new racetrack was built. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. And I see, I glance over the track, the chat room, and 22 Figure Eight is asking, why isn't no longer called the local track anymore? Well, I want to remain positive with that. There's no secret that there was no love lost between the past owners and myself. For whatever reason, we just didn't see eye to eye on things, and we kind of went back and forth. So they didn't want me to talk about them, and they didn't want me to go there. So they just became my local track, or the track on Long Island. With the new ownership and the new plans for 2016, it's a renowned relationship. Eddie and I know Eddie since he brought his modifieds to Riverhead when I was the chief steward. And I think one of the first people that was driving was a guy from New England, Bo Gunning. And I remember the battles Bo Gunning would have with J.R. Bertuccio, and the discussions I'd have with Eddie and Joe Bertuccio in the office on any given night. And Eddie came to the track with some class. He came there to race, and he came with good equipment. I think Mike Curtis was one of his drivers as well. I think he had 2 cars at the time, and it was just a whole different era. But anyway, getting back to why it's no longer the local racetrack, it's all new. It's all new. It's like it's a new facility. It's like they built a new racetrack on Long Island, as far as I'm concerned, and it's a fresh new start for everybody. Including, me, including 505 on. So, so hopefully we can continue that. I mean, we spent a lot of time, like I said, sitting in Eddie's trailer, in the back of his trailer, just talking racing. And it was comforting to be able to do that. So, I had a nice little talk with Bobby Fine. And, basically we walked around and just talked to people, feeling out what's going on and what the plans are and who's doing what and who's not there, and there's going to be a whole new officiating staff for the most part. Maybe a couple of people brought it up, but I don't even know if that's even been finalized as of yet. So it'll be good. Trust me, it'll be good. And I do know Eddie was selling out most of his stuff. I think his plan is just to keep one car. I think I could say that. And I believe somebody bought his car. The rumor in the street from a reliable source is Mike Albazzini with the 6 Whelen modified tour type car with a spec motor, with a crate motor, I should say. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. So that crate motor division is growing leaps and bounds, and a lot of people had their doubts. A lot of people thought that was the wrong way to go. But I'll tell you what, I talked to some of the people that have been involved with this sport for a long time, and one of the things they said is there was no stepping stone to the tour type modifieds. There was no real open wheel division for somebody to say, hey, let me start off here first and not have to spend a boatload of money. Maybe it's a smaller boat, but it's not a big boatload of money. And there was no stepping stone. See, years ago when I started at ISUP in the late 70s, there was figure 8s and modifieds. So your choice was to go from a figure 8 to a modified. Some of the other tracks in the area like Freeport and Riverhead when it was out east there, there was a bomber division, a street stock division, and modifieds. But there's no stepping stone into modifieds, tour type modifieds. So this gives a new driver, or a driver who never really drove an open wheel car, maybe a go-kart or a champ car, to go out and learn the ropes a little bit. Because, think about this, and for those of you who've never raced, think about, and I can only equate this to the first time you drove a street car. Think about when you first got in your car, your mom, your dad, or your uncle, whoever took you out driving. Think about the first time and you're going 20 miles an hour down the side streets and you're stopping at the stop sign. You're looking, 3 ways, left, right, left, and think about that. Now, let's go into a race car. Think about your first time, and you're on a racetrack, but 15, 20 other Neanderthals that want to push you out of the way. Think about that, and I think it's a good idea to have this stepping stone. Some of the other divisions, it's a shame that the Chargers kind of got a demise, but there's opportunities for them as well to do other things. So nobody got put out to the curb, so to speak. There's things that they could do with Charger cars, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm going to say it again. I wish Eddie and Connie and Tom and John the best of luck in 2016. And I hope that all of their dreams and aspirations for what they're looking to do come true. And I hope that there's a new way of life at that racetrack and a new beginning, so to speak, for a lot of the teams and maybe some of those guys that were on the deal, as I say. maybe they need to go somewhere else because from the looks of it, there ain't going to be no deals. The new Riverhead Raceway in 2016. We're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to talk about some news in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Series when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
It's always been important to us to have music a part of our lives, part of our children's lives. At Village Music Shop, Bonnie and Chuck have not only made it possible for our kids to learn and understand and read music and enjoy playing a musical instrument, but they've also made it fun.
I really like coming here. I like coming to Village Music because everybody here is nice.
And they've inspired some creativity and imagination and taught them discipline. And along the way, they've gotten some self-confidence, really been like a part of our family.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're gonna punch in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Yeah, I just saw scrolling through the chat room. Jay Slice saying they say I was in Eddie's trailer most of the time. Did I shoot the video? We were there early, Kevin and I, so we got there early and we shot some video. But that video, we're going to hold off on airing that video until Bobby or Tom Gatz come on and talk to us about it. There's some reason behind that. I really want to get into the politics of it, but not that we were asked not to show it, but just in conversation, I just thought it might just wait till the right time. So anyway, let's see. Anyway, the Whelen Modified Tour, some news there. Rowan Pennick of Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania, was chosen to drive the Bowler Racing Engineering number 3, also known as Old Blue, in 2016 for the full season. Bowler Racing has won 3 NASCAR Modified Division national titles and 3 Whelen Modified Tour crowns over 60 years of operation, starting with the legendary Len Bowler. They've competed only part-time in the last couple of years, and Rowan Pennick was one of the teams driving the 93 family-owned car of the Monk Hand Cleaner sponsorship. We're not coming back. The team wasn't coming back, and the Bowler team has been looking for a drive over the last couple of years, and like I said, they ran part-time in the last two, so they're going to run a full season with Rowan Pennick. My understanding is it's their crew, their car, and Rowan's motor from the '93 team. So Rowan Pennick, a tough competitor, should be good. It should be good because, I don't know, he's one of those guys that, he's focused. And Rowan, I remember the first time he came, I used to tease him when I went to his car, and I says, "You don't look like you're happy to be here." And he would just look at me and he get a little smile, and he goes, "I'm just, getting ready, like 22 figure 8, 03, old blue, back on the tour is good news from NASCAR, because so many teams are bailing out, and for various reasons. Some it's money, some is they felt that they were slighted, calls didn't, not that the calls didn't go their way. The calls weren't fair and consistent. And it happens at every level of racing. It happens at every level of racing where you feel, when you're the guy that got dirtied up, so to speak, you feel like, oh, they're after me, they're against me, they don't like me, all that kind of nonsense. And I was in the tower. I called races. I was on the ramp at a weekly racetrack making decisions, and you don't see everything. And, do they have the luxury of videotape now? Yeah, they do. I didn't have that luxury. And on the tour, I don't believe they use that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I wasn't up in the tower with them. But, I know I was at, the New Hampshire race, and like in Eddie Partridge's case, when Ryan was apparently taken out by Doug Colby, that changed the whole complexion of that point race. If Doug Colby's put to the back, and he's back there with Ryan Preece, the whole points battle would have changed, and they still would have had a shot at it. They still would have had a shot at that title, and they didn't have that. So, I don't know. It's sad to see Eddie leaving the team, a class act with the Grasso brothers and their crew wrenching the car, and Ryan Preece driving full time. But not sure what's going to happen with Ryan Preece in 2016. His cup opportunity is not finalized, or any other of the top 3 series. I believe that's still in negotiations. But with the selling of that car, and it was at the swap meet, it was on the flatbed. With the selling of that car, I think that the Partridge team has made a clear statement. We're done running that series full time. And that's a sad, state of affairs. Just like the Emmerling team, a good team. The kid was coming along, getting some nice top 5, top 3 finishes, Patrick Emmerling. But, they're going to concentrate on some dirt racing up near where they live in Buffalo. Another good team. And then, you get the Garbarino team, the Mystic Missile number 4. He's been doing this forever, Bob Garbarino. And, I know he has not been happy the last few years, and, who knows what's going to happen with them moving forward. And then the Buzz Shoe team, Woody Pitkat, it was battling for the title at the end of the season, and, not coming out because it looks like they're going to go dirt racing. And you know what? I went to a lot of dirt tracks this past summer, and, I don't want to say the racing's better because some people like dirt, some people like asphalt. I've seen both, and yeah, there's some good serious racing in the dirt series, and what the difference is the money. The payouts are so much greater. They race so much more, and their opportunities to race a different racetrack. Sometimes they got to make a decision, as Brett Hearn had to make when he chose to run the Eastern Stakes and miss an event that he got penalized for missing. So the opportunity to race those things, is just endless. And in 22 figure 8 Pittsburgh, the 21 team, Art Barry's team, has been missing for the tour for a few years, and that was a team too. That was another team that came and they raced and they did well. Art Barry with the Spafco chassis, and they did an awesome job. Dick Barney, had Reggie Ruggiero drive for him. Dick Barney's missing it. We go to these other racetracks, and there he is. There he is at Mahoning Valley, at a smaller racetrack. And as he said to me, "I'm having fun again." Here's another guy that's been in racing for years and years and years, more years than I can even go back. And 3 R's, dirt is different. It's a whole different animal. The racing is, I watch these guys go 3 wide, it looks like out of control, and they're not beating and banging, trying to take people off. The left front wheel coming off the ground, you know, and then they run asphalt. Some of them will go run some asphalt events, and the racing is just as good on asphalt. Yeah, they got to make some changes to the car. I think Brian DeFebo said to me that it's just a matter of stiffening up the right rear and changing some springs around and some shocks. But, you know, like I said, I saw a lot of dirt racing this year, and I'll tell you what, I was excited by it. You know, I had seen dirt racing years ago. I was at Cottage Grove Speedway in Oregon back in the 80s and saw some dirt racing. Volusia County down in Florida, saw some dirt racing, some late models, some big block modified, some small block modifieds. You know, and New Egypt, I was at New Egypt years ago and saw some dirt racing. And, but now it was behind the scenes. See, back then I was sitting in the grandstands with everybody else, you know, drinking hot chocolate, and, you know, in the cold nights, or having a nice cold brew, or during the hot summer nights. But, you know, when you look at that, when I look back at that, you know, I didn't get into dirt race because I was into late models and figure 8 cars back then, and then I was a modified guy. You know, and I tease people, I'm not really a race fan. I'm really not a big, you know, fan of auto racing. I enjoy it. There's other things that I could be doing, and I do, but you know, there's certain races I like to watch. I like to watch a good hard modified race. I love to watch the late models go, you know, a big race and all over the place. Supermods, I have a good time with them. I had a great time at Bethel Motor Speedway, upstate New York, watching, you know, those guys and gals racing out there, and I see Tracy, business operations manager, is in our chat room again viewing. Welcome, Tracy. And she just had her banquet for her people, handed out a ton of awards and hardware at her track, and I saw some pictures in social media, and I'll tell you what, it looks like her guys got the message. They all knew how to dress. You know, it just shows hot button. Yeah, you gotta dress right. But it's just, you know, when you look at the different forms of racing across the country, you know, at every different level, you know, whether it's you're racing a Bandolero or a tour type modified, your heart and soul goes into it, and you put everything you got into it. And, you know, and I never liked that term, they're moving up to this division, or they're moving up. And, you know, some old time driver said to me one time, you know, they're moving over to that division. And when he said that to me, it made a lot of sense. That, you know, yeah, they're not moving up. You're still driving a race car. You're still on the same racetrack. You're still going pretty much almost the same speeds. There's only maybe 3 or 4 seconds on a quarter mile that differentiates the top teams, and not top team, but the top division of a series or the low division of a series. You know, you have champ carts going as fast as omnibus and chargers on the quarter mile over at Riverhead. You know, go-karts going sometimes even faster. But, you know, you look at that, you know, everybody straps in, puts on that helmet, and they lay it all on the line each and every Saturday or Sunday night or Friday night somewhere, or Thursday night, like in the Thompson days. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, 3 hours, I got to agree with it. I've been to Bethel a handful of times, and some of the best racing I've seen in that place. I mean, it's, you know what I see, and I see this at a lot of racetracks, and I'm going to go off onto this little unplanned thing, but it has to do with respect, and respect for your fellow drivers. I've been to racetracks this past summer that, you know, driver A, accidentally, on purpose, or whatever, 2 guys going for the same piece of racetrack at the same time, one guy ends up taken out or in the fence or in the infield, and that guy automatically puts himself in the back. He doesn't have to be told. You know, they're not driving around on the caution and the black flags waving, you go, you. And they don't go up to the gate or to the starter stand and start arguing. They go back by themselves. I messed up. There's a track that I've been to that if you take somebody out and they have to go in the pits, you go in the penalty box. You sit on the infield. If by the time they're ready to go green, that guy doesn't come out, you go in. You know what? It's respect. And, you know, some of these guys and gals today, racing today, they don't have that. They don't have the respect for their fellow competitors. And I think here's why, and here's my thing. A lot of drivers today show up at racetracks with their helmet under their arm, their flyers over their shoulder, or they got a bag. And they get in, they go do their thing, and they wad the car up, and they go, all right, see you next week. And the crew and the team and the owners trash it up, all back together. And And the guy shows up, got his helmet on his arm, his visor on his shoulder, shows up, goes racing. Back in the day, if you broke it, you fixed it. And you had to go find the parts. You go to the local speed shop and buy parts. You had to go find them. You know, there was no internet. You didn't go online and go find everything. You know, it's just one of those things. And 3 hours in, yeah, I know who you are. The old no dirt under their fingernails, you know, test. You know, the late Walt Edsel were interviewing officials, potential officials, and I thought this guy was awesome. This guy spoke well, he knew his stuff, and he walked out and said, hey, I said, well, what do you think? He goes, no, Speedy, no. Why not? There's no doggone grease under his fingernails. What does he know about racing? And I was like, yeah, you're right. No, not that mine aren't either, but I wear gloves, and people have seen me work on race cars. I have plastic gloves, I have mechanics gloves. I hate getting so on. But anyway, one more quick thing on the modifieds. We're gonna take a break. The Pro All, the Pass Series. That's it. With promoter Renee Hackett and President Tom Mayberry have announced the creation of a new modified series featuring tour-type modifieds that will race on tracks in the South. And their first event is March 26th at Hickory, another modified tour series. Why is that? We're going to talk about that when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scare No Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered.
Welcome back. This new modified touring series, I had some discussion with some people, and years ago, back before 1985, they would crown a national champion, and it was based on points. So no matter where this modified guy ran back then, the points counted. And there were nights that Jerry Cook and Richie Evans would go to different racetracks so they knew they can garner the most points, or send a dummy truck to one track to fake the guy out, and there'd be extra money in a purse. I can remember owning a modified, on paper, and I used to get these entry blanks back in 79, 80. And I mean, it was a car. We didn't compete with it. We never used it. But the funny thing about it was, you get these entry blanks, and the purses they were paying back then. I mean, wow. Well, blew the purses away today. And there'd be, things on $600 if Richie Evans shows up, $500 if Joe shows up. If last year's champion came, because they would be able to promote that, and get big crowds and nice payoffs. And then NASCAR decided they needed to have a better control, and the tour was formed in '85, and they had a lot of cars. But over the years, and this is one of the things that happened, and I can remember, former series director, modified series director Ed Cox saying, this other series just opened up, and a lot of guys are doing it on the off day, and Ed was telling them, don't do it, and we're going to water down our series. They're going to pay us less, and everything that man said, and I was at a lot of those meetings, came to fruition. And happening, what allows a new touring series to be developed? Well, what happens is people aren't happy where they are. And I'm not saying the Whelen Modified Tour people aren't happy. There are some that aren't. But then you have the Valente Modified Racing Series, there's the ROC series. There's all these modified series that don't have 40 and 50 cars that they once had years ago. The Southern Modified guys, they run a lot of times at Caraway, they run Hickory, Greenville, Pickens, South Boston. They run in places like that, and they don't have a lot of cars. And why is that? Because you go to Bowman Gray, and the place is jam-packed with fans and cars. You wonder why some of those guys race the Southern Modified Tour. And I've always kind of wondered that, because all their tracks are within an hour, hour and a half maybe, unlike here in the Northeast where you got to drive 5-6 hours sometimes. And when you look at that, wow, there's some unhappy people, because that's how these new series become. Somebody sits there and says, hey, I'm pretty all right. Let's try to start a new series. And they start querying teams and talking, will you come? Yeah, I'll go. Oh, I'll try it out, And this is what happens. Now what's going to happen, instead of having, 1 or 2 series with 60 cars each, you're going to have like 6 or 7 series that are barely going to fill their fields. I really think all the series heads, including the NASCAR people, need to get all together and have a little discussion, have a little meeting. Hey, what can we do to work together? See, that's wow, it's almost about work together. Because everybody wants, I call it whiff 'em, what's in it for me? And, you can't have that. Sometimes you got to swallow your pride and realize what's wrong with your series, and realize, what's good about that series. And maybe take the good and the bad and get rid of the bad, put the good, take what's good from each one, and have one big, massive series. And have a B main, for the guys and gals that didn't qualify. Have someone like the dirt guys do. The dirt guys do. They have all these cars. They don't send them all home. They let them run. They let them run a B main or a C main. And Jason says, I agree. I can't see that happening, because somebody would have to take the initiative. And nobody's going to do that. No, it's just easy to start it. Let's start a new series. And I can remember the late Tom Baldwin talked to me one day, back his last year racing, and he was talking about running a new series, start a new series. And he said to me, he says, would you come work, for me if I did this? And I was all gung ho NASCAR, and I said, Tom, when the time comes, we can sit down and talk. Because you never close the doors, you never close the doors on a situation or an opportunity. And we talked about that, and he was talking to competitors, and he wasn't happy about some of the stuff that was going on at the time in NASCAR. Yeah, was Tom Baldwin a little bit of a rebel? He was, but you know what? A lot of what he said was going to happen, happened. And he said, you know what? He said, let's do this before somebody else does. And everybody laughed at him. Everybody told me it was crazy. It never happened. And it happened. And some of these guys that were staunch modified tour people for years went to those other series. Why did they go? Because they weren't happy where they were. Whether it was they weren't happy with the purses, whether they weren't happy with the cost, whether they weren't happy with officials, whether they just weren't happy traveling. Whatever the case was, they went to these other series. And now that's what's happened with the Wheeling Modified Tour that used to send home more cars than they started, is barely filling fields. Even with some of the bigger races like New Hampshire and Bristol, it's not happening. And you know, you talk to some of these teams, they don't want to, they're working men that go racing. You know, the crews are working guys. They can't take a week off from work to go to Bristol unless the team's in the points and they have a big sponsor and a rich owner who's going to pay for their lost wages and their time. You know, and it's something that has to happen. It's just all these new series panning out. Yeah, it's good that somebody wants to do that, but and I wish, you know, Renee and her group of people, I wish them well in their endeavor. I just don't want to see all these other series all get watered down. It's just like starting a new division at your weekly racetrack. You know what? Somebody goes in there and says, you know, we should have this division. We should have, you know, whatever, the XYZ division, because, you know, I know 10 guys that are going to do it right away and this and that. So they start it. So what happens? The back markers from the other divisions say, whoa, you know what? We could sell this car and then go buy one of those cars. And we have a good shot at running and doing well. Let's do it. And now you have, instead of having 3 divisions with 30 cars in them, you have 4 divisions with 20 cars in them, or 25. And then somebody goes, oh, let's start this other division. And you keep watering it down, and pretty soon you're going to have, you know, 10, 11 cars in the division where you used to have 30. Why? Because somebody wanted to start a new class and they stopped bailing out. They stopped bailing out. Yeah, there's a time to start a new class. There's a time. But you have to look at, you know, I call it addition by subtraction. You know, and I'm going to say Riverhead in this case with the Charger division being on. The Charger division outgrew what it was supposed to be. The Charger division went from an inexpensive race car, almost a street stock, a fancy blunderbuss, because for those who don't know what a blunderbuss is, it's a 4,200-pound late model, the way they make them today. It was supposed to be the big tanks, the 4,000-pound cars. You put a roll cage in it, you go racing with racing tires. They got out of control, and the Chargers got out of control. They got out of control, and a lot of them, to the casual fan, the fan that's sitting in the seats that doesn't go every week, they couldn't tell the difference between a late model and a Charger. They couldn't. So you know what? Maybe it was time. Maybe it was time. Could it have gone the other way, the late models ago, and then the Chargers? That could have happened. I'm sure that discussion was made. And I don't want to see any division get the axe, but you know, when you have a new racetrack, you got to look back and say, hey, what's going to, as a businessman, what's going to work for me? And I'm sure a lot of thought went into that. And you know, and I don't know how many Charger guys there are that have cars, but let's say there's 18. Some are going to go and move up to modifieds. Some are going to go to late models. Some are going to go to the crate thing. Some are just going to pack it in and go help people. And maybe some of those guys that are packing it in, it was time. Because, you know, we all, you know, we're all guilty of this. We don't know when it's time. You know, and it's one of those things. I don't know. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. But anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some the Snowball Derby, some NASCAR news, and we'll be wrapping it up when we come back.
For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
What's up, guys? We're Scared on Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. As we all know, Kyle Busch was the 2015 Sprint Cup Series champion. He received all his hardware and his big check this past Friday night in Vegas. His first time champion, even though he missed 11 events. But he did have 4 wins. And, you know, we talked about that. We talked about how that can happen. Well, NASCAR made provisions, and I'm not going to say I agree or disagree with that. I would hope that if something happened to me, God forbid, that they would make provisions for me too. I don't think that would ever happen. But anyway, for those who watched the long drawn-out banquet, like I talked earlier, it was one of those things that just went. It seemed to just go on and on and on. And I know, you know, it's watching golf. I can't watch golf on TV, but when I play it, I have a good time doing it. And I'm sure the people who were at the banquet in Vegas had a great time, but you know, it's tough to sit there for all that time and watch this. But anyway, I guess the highlight of the night was Jeff Gordon was introduced by actor Tom Cruise, which surprised Jeff Gordon. And then after Tom Cruise's intro of Jeff Gordon, NASCAR's chairman Brian France came on stage to present Jeff Gordon with the bestowed Bill France Award of Excellence for his spectacular career. Kyle Larsen was crowned the Sprint Cup Series Rookie of the Year, Chase Elliott in the Xfinity Series, and Ben Kennedy in the Camping World Truck Series. So they'll have some time off, and then they'll go back to their testing and get ready for Speed Weeks. Then they have a very short off season. The 48th Annual Snowball Derby late model race was held, and Camping World Truck Series driver Christopher Bell was the first to cross the line, take the checkered flag, and was DQ'd an hour later for failing post-race inspection, giving a win to Chase Elliott. The 300-lap race was run on a half-mile oval in Pensacola, Florida, and is considered the Super Bowl of late model races. 37 cars started the event, with Chase Elliott eventually getting the win after finishing second, and Christopher Bell's DQ. Zane Smith was second. Ty Majeski was third. Dalton Sargent was fourth. Bubba Pollard was fifth. Casey Smith sixth. Preston Peltier seventh. William Byron eighth. Derek Thorne ninth. And Kaz Gould is rounded out the top 10. At the banquet, going back to the banquet, Jeff Hansen wins the Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award. Hansen will receive a $100,000 from the NASCAR Foundation and also the use of a 2016 Ford vehicle. So that's a high honor, the Betty Jane France Humanitarian Award. It's for humanitarian services to your neighborhood, your country, your state, you know, and Jeff Hansen was well deserved of the award. Ended up with a rare cancer as a young person, and went on to become a musician, and he's helped other people. So that's all good. It's all good. Let's see. Some people buying Jay Slice saying he stopped watching the banquet a few years ago. I can remember I used to watch it because I wanted to see the money earned. They used to put that. Earning $7,862,000. Well, you know, I used to like to say, how much did they get, you know? And they stopped doing that a few years ago. They stopped giving how much the teams won. Now, a lot of people don't understand that the driver, in most cases, doesn't see that money. Most drivers are under contract. Some are paid per event. Some are paid, you know, a set salary. Some are paid, you know, they get a percentage of where they finish based on, you know, wins, and the higher they finish, the bigger their payoff is. So, you know, So I guess there was no need to show that because even if they won like $7 or $8 million, it costs like well more than that to go racing. It's just like your weekly plays, man. You get $2,000 to win maybe, and and if and it costs you like $5,000 to run that event. And a lot of people, and I talk to a lot of non-racing people, and I say, why would you do that? Why would you spend thousands of dollars, and we'll take a typical modified tour race, you'll spend $5,000 to go racing, and your shot at winning is kind of slim, so to make $1,500 or $2,000 isn't that bad business. And I said, well, at that level, it's still kind of like a hobby. I said, when you go fishing, when you go to a tuna tournament out in the Atlantic Ocean, it costs you thousands of dollars. And that's if you don't have the boat. If you have to fuel that boat, it costs you another couple of thousand. What do you get at the end? What do you got? If you got the biggest tuna, you get a trophy, maybe. I don't know. It's just one of those things. And you look at that, and the cost to go racing is just, it's gotten. I'm going to say it's gotten out of control, but it's gotten out of control because. You want to build a bigger, better, faster, boom, wow, got it. Money bought horsepower, money bought wins, and the money that people started spending. NASCAR or any other sanctioned body, their job is to protect you from yourself sometimes, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and depending on who has the ear, especially at some of the local tracks, whoever has the ear of the people in charge, however they want to call it. They just get their way sometimes, and it really shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way, but again, banquets are a big deal. If you're the guy or gal who's winning that award, that's your night. That's definitely your night. But to sit and watch something on TV like that for hours on end, where the big guy is getting his thing at the end, that's happening. You could tune in the beginning, catch some of the side stuff, but I don't know. I think that's something that needs to be revisited. Like I said, it's a great thing. They get their awards, they're on TV, and everybody has their 15 minutes of fame. But and to the non-racing person, they don't understand that. And I don't know. I know. What is somebody saying? Bumblehead is saying, what happened on December 7th, 1941? Well, we all know that's the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And December 7th, 1941 will be a day that lives in infamy. It got the United States into World War II. But this isn't a history show, it's a racing show. And my hat's off to all who served in WW2. My grandfather was a veteran of WW2. And, it's one of those things. And it's kind of similar to the Twin Towers on 9/11. We'll remember that, like our parents remembered December 7th, 1941. And I thank those that were in the service and who continue to be in service. And I thank God that my son, Brian, is retiring in March after 20 years of service. And to my memory, 7 tours of active duty in battling it out to protect and preserve the rights of not only Americans, but people across the world. So. And because of those things, because of those men and women, we get to go to racetracks and we get to race and we get to argue about rules and we argue about calls. We don't have to worry about being shot because we didn't like a decision that was made. And in some parts of the world, officials, they make a bad call, they want to kill them. They want to kill them. It's just one of those things. And you're right, 22 figure 8. The younger generations, they only knows 9/11. They have no idea about December 7th, 1941. And there was no TV, there was no internet, there was no social media. People gathered around the radio, and that's how they heard it. But back then too, people huddled around the radio and listened to baseball games and football games and races, local races that were on the radio. It was a different era, just like racing was a different era. Stock cars were called stock cars because they were stock cars. You went to the dealership, the Grand National Division, the early modifieds of 1948, 49, they were basically stock cars. They called it the modifieds because you can modify it a little bit. And the stock cars were basically, they took out, I saw a video of Lee Petty rolling down the windows of his Plymouth before he went racing, tape up the headlights, because in some cases, you know, that's how you got to and from the racetrack. You know? And, but, you know, back in those days, it was just so different. So different. Life was different. The world was different. You know, it didn't cost a fortune to go watch a race. You know, but as time evolved, you know, and corporate sponsorship got involved, and TV packages got involved, you know, people had to make money, and the purses, and at least in the top series, have grown to astronomical sizes. You know, where the weekly guy is still struggling. You know, that's something that needs to be looked at. If NASCAR wants to look at something, they need to look at their weekly racetracks and what some of the payouts are for some of these teams, and come up with a marketing program or the trickle-down effect. The trickle-down effect of some of that big TV money. You know, NASCAR's a billion-dollar corporation. Why not trickle it down to the weekly series? Yeah, I know there's dozens of tracks in 50 states across the land, Canada and Mexico. But you know what? You know, when the guy's payoff, because he finished like 10th or 12th, doesn't even cover his entry, his pit fees. That's a sad state of affairs at some of these weekly tracks. And I don't think any racetrack on a weekly series should have a payout where a guy who qualifies for the feature bought a set of tires, 5 or 10 gallons of fuel, and a nice car license and a pit fee and all of that other good stuff, and can't even get his pit fee back. You know, come on. And I reach out for all the track operators across the country. Take a look at that. You know, auto racing, I've said this a dozen times, auto racing is the only entertainment industry where the competitors pay to entertain the fans. And, you know, I don't think that should be. I really don't think that should be. You know, it's one of those things. It's just my thing. You know, you go to a racetrack, I don't think the car owner and the driver should pay a pit fee. I think they should be granted admission. And you know what? So charge everybody else an extra $2, $3, $5, something. You're going to get the same revenue at the end of the night anyway. Get the guy who's putting on the show in for free. Because without them, there is no show. And I don't say that to be a wise guy. Without the driver, there is no show. Without the owner, there is no show. All right? I don't know. Late Model 39 is watching. Speaking of Late Model 39, Late Model 39 will be a guest in the upcoming weeks on the 505 on Racing Show. We have a lot to talk about, some memories to talk about, and I'm not going to steal his thunder, but you know, Late Model 39 is going to have something to say about the 2016 season and where he's dedicating his season to. And also in the upcoming weeks, I think I said this earlier, the new Riverhead Raceway's Bob Finan, the announcer, longtime announcer, has committed to become a guest on our show as well to talk about the 2016 season. So a lot of things happening here at the 505 on Racing Show, and things are only looking up. Things are only looking up. And we just continue to grow here at the 505 on Racing Show. But I want to thank Kevin Basic for this past season for driving me to all these events and making all those phone calls to get us into these racetracks and to continue to get us into these racetracks. You know, we have one more that we're trying to get on our list to make the, I don't want to say make the peace, but to let them know that we're on their size too. So that's about it. We're gonna, you know, I want to just tell everybody, I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. I know I said that last week, but you know, the holiday season is upon us. For my Jewish friends, Happy Hanukkah, and for my Christmas celebrating friends, Merry Christmas. And for those who celebrate something else, Happy Holidays. We will be on next Monday night, of course, and the Monday after that, but we got some good stuff planned. We got some shows in the can, so to speak. And I want to thank Dennis Fries of Oval Speed for allowing us into our shop the other day and recording some stuff there. So for all your parts needs on Long Island, Oval Speed. I just gave him a free commercial. Look at that. It was good. But anyway, again, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining on the show tonight and sharing in the chat room. We had a nice chat room going tonight. I thank you. And wherever your endeavors may bring you, be safe, be well, Tell somebody you love them, give them a hug. Have a great day, and God bless you all. We'll see you next week.